Hi,
Let's go.
welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Sia. I'm a curator at Mokta, and today we have with us the lovely Lethabo Huma, um, currently in South Africa, I believe. But
Yep.
yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Sia. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So today we are celebrating the opening of the 777 exhibition, kind of themed System Shock. And a little bit about this exhibition. This was kind of born out of a kind of a call to action from Lethabo, who was really interested in creating an exhibition with a lot of really talented artists in the digital art sphere. And so I would love to kind of like turn it over to you a little bit to talk about more of what your origins for this project were, why you decided you wanted to do this project, and kind of, you know, a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I think for me, like the project was mainly focused on giving artists a voice in terms of just sort of like helping people to get to know, and also just helping artists, but helping people to get to know artists better and just what their work is about, but just with providing experience with that. So, but that was mainly like the main focus, especially like in the NFT space. Like I feel like a lot of us artists, or the way the platforms are set up, it doesn't really allow much room for like, especially with like specific pieces that you do mint, it doesn't really allow a lot of room for you to sort of like go deeper into the meaning behind your work. And that's basically what really inspired the exhibition. Yeah.
No, I think that's completely true. Like the fact that the NFT space is very like populated, there are so many wonderful artists producing so many different things, but there it doesn't seem to be a ton of opportunity for like curatorial exhibitions or something like this. And they're definitely like when we had heard you were interested in like potentially doing a project of this nature, we were like, yes, that sounds like a great idea. Bring in some wonderful artists who maybe have been familiar with each other in the space, but not necessarily familiar with each other in more of an exhibitions type of curatorial conversation. And so, yeah, I think that a lot of the artists that we've gathered together today are really like wonderful and impactful and have some really like interesting messages to share. And so that was kind of like a little bit of the behind the scenes of that as well. So also on a description of the project itself, we have a we don't have a physical exhibition. We have a kind of virtual exhibition space where you can port into it, click a link, and then see almost a physical representation of a gallery space with some of the artworks on the wall for each of the artists. And then from there, you're able to click on each of the artworks or even on the exhibition text itself to port over to a website on the Mokta website that has a little bit more about the artists, about their message, and kind of more of a like all of the artworks we wanted to feature in this exhibition itself. So it's kind of a multi-stage, you know, you have the opportunity as not a consumer necessarily, but more of a visitor to choose your path through the exhibition, whatever interests you, you're able to kind of click, learn more about it, and like potentially encounter some perspectives that are different and that might make you more interested in kind of relating to artists and the messages that they share. So I think also a question that I wanted to ask you, Lethabo, was the artists that you were interested in for this exhibition mainly came from you and from your experience. And I was just interested into like why these artists in particular, with some selection from Mokta and from us as well, why you were like why they kind of caught your eye initially.
I think the main reason is just I'm drawn to their work. I love their work. I think I also felt like they were really amazing artists that are doing like really amazing things in the NFT space. And I felt like we should sort of create a platform where we sort of celebrate that. Because a lot of the, not a lot of the times, but there's a small amount of NFT artists that are like sort of celebrated. So giving them that platform and sort of like just providing people with a different viewing experience to just see their work is what really drew me to them.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think it can very much be almost an echo chamber, maybe in the NFT space, where some artists are really, really popular and they just keep increasing in popularity, and other artists that have a really valuable thing to say and really valuable and interesting art maybe don't get necessarily all the attention they deserve. But it's, yeah, the combination, I think, of artists in this exhibition was really, it was important to us to like have people from all over that kind of spectrum, and that might not have had the opportunity to like talk before previously. So there's a little bit of that. Yeah, maybe also as another question for you, I'd love to know more about your experience in the digital art community and kind of how you got initially involved in it as well.
In the digital art community or the
the digital art community, like.
Okay, I've been in. How long have I been a digital artist? I think for about 3 years now, like a professional digital artist. Before I did a lot of sort of traditional work. But yeah, in terms of just being in the digital art space, I've been here for quite some time. And I'd say that I'm enjoying it. Like digital art is sort of like a medium that I really enjoy. And it's something that I've sort of mainly focused my career on for the time being. Yeah.
For sure. Do you always know that you like wanted to become a digital artist? Was it more like an accidental kind of fall into the space?
I think it was more accidental. Like I'm a very experimental person, especially like in my work. So I didn't think that I would sort of be experimenting with digital art for this long.
Yeah,
but yeah, so but like obviously I do other types of work on the side, but like I'm really just drawn to digital art. I think the one thing that really is so awesome about digital art is the sort of different tools that you can use to create. Like these software companies are like continuously like updating the programs, and like it just makes it so much more fun and interesting. So yeah.
Yeah, you're always going to find something new almost. Like you could be a
pro, basically,
and then another software will come and you're like, that also sounds really cool. Like, yeah, kind of embracing that. No, for sure. Well, I would kind of love to hop into the tour if you're okay with that. Just moving in and explaining a little bit about how we've structured the project. So maybe let's start with the virtual space, where we can kind of move around in a virtual way. I think we'll pull that up in 1 second. We have our behind the scenes wizard helping us. Here we go. Amazing.
Perfect.
So you can find this link on on social media, on our website as well. But by clicking into this virtual exhibition, you land in this physical space with immediately the exhibition text in front of you. So that's more of a description about the concept of the project, of this little concept of like system shock as well, because I think for us, when you originally proposed this exhibition and like had your initial list of artists, it really struck me that a lot of these artists are I think there's a very like passive consumption of imagery in a lot of media today. And what really struck me was that these artists very much kind of shied away from that. It was very, you know, a lot of their work is very symbolic and very detailed, and it requires a lot of like sitting and thinking and focusing and kind of just having that moment of pause in front. And so like that was a little bit about the concept of system shock and kind of shaking up the system in a way. And so I believe the gallery was designed by Frank Toema. Is that correct?
Yeah, Frank Toema. He's the one that sort of built the gallery from the ground up. Like he's the one that sort of brought all my crazy ideas to life. But yeah, Frank Toema.
Yeah, he did a really wonderful job, and like really grateful that he was able to kind of work with us on this project as well. And so you see on each one of the walls a artwork by one of the artists in this exhibition. So there's 7 artists hence the 777 exhibition name, which is March 7th, launching at 7 p.m. on with these 7 artists. And so, yeah, kind of touring around, looking at all of the different artworks that kind of act as portals in a way. When you click on them, they can move over into the website portion where you can learn a little bit more about the art and have other examples of what they are, what their practice is about. So I think also another thing to note is we were very careful to kind of make sure that the artworks that were next to each other had really interesting and important conversations. We took a little bit of time to make sure that like each of the artworks had its own focus, but also was very kind of positioned in a way that like some of the similar themes that artists are working with, or even the like visual motifs that they have, are very, you know, they bring each other out of these different artworks that are next to each other. So that was something that we kind of took into consideration when we were installing the space as well. Maybe let's click into the intro paragraph just to kind of get a sense of what the landing page for the exhibition is. Yeah, amazing. So we then eventually move into this website space where you just click on the text, pop over here, and then we have a little bit of a exhibition poster where you have more of the text about the exhibition. You have the artists on list. So we have the artists, Lethabo, obviously. And then we have Thedo Tatai, we have Thomas Stokes III, Yosnia Miranda, Black Sneakers, Mark Constantine Indusil, and Daniela Atfield. So that's...
Yeah, it's actually Tato.
Oh, so sorry.
Cool.
Tato. So yes, the 7 artists, incredibly talented, and we're really grateful that they're agreed to share their work with us. But yeah. So then we move down further into the artworks themselves. So more of like a gallery format, you're able to see those deeper conversations between the artworks and kind of just explore them as the viewer, as the visitor, as you know, as you see fit, just kind of clicking in, clicking out, however you'd like to. So really wonderful work. Scrolling by Thomas Stokes and Yosnia. This is Lethabo. And then moving on to the other artists. And then at the very bottom as well, we have a little bit more of like individual portals. I see you're like seeing these as well, like
yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, no, like the gifts as well, really excited.
Yeah.
Some of them have like motion and movement to them, which is something I think like the digital format lends itself to so well. You don't really expect like art on a very like white gallery wall to be able to move, but then like the digital space, like really, you really can go for it. So yeah. And then you click into each one of them. You have a little bio, a little bit about more of the practice and the things, and then the artworks that we selected that we felt kind of represented their practice and the different themes that we wanted to work with in this exhibition itself. So going each one by one. And yeah, I think each artist has their own dedicated individual page. So kind of take a look how interested, you know, you are for each. But yeah, I think that's like a little bit of a tour. So we've kind of hit all the different elements of the artwork. And so now I think what would be really useful and really interesting is bringing in some of the artists who are in this exhibition to a conversation more about the concepts and some of the things that they're working with in their art. So if we're able to bring them back on the screen, they've been waiting very patiently to join us for this conversation. We're really grateful that they had taken the time to join us today. So we'll get them back. Oh, hello. We have someone. And while each of the artists comes on screen, so I felt like it was really important because the show deals with a lot of artists in the show deal with very personal and very like, you know, kind of emotional processing themes and memories and imagination and things that they're working with. I felt like it would be a really useful thing for us to have a conversation about like some of the elements of this and kind of hear your guys' own perspectives so that like I'm just not talking for an hour because that's not very interesting. But yeah, so to start off the conversation, and feel free to jump in however you guys want, maybe we can start with the question, how do you feel your art represents your unique perspective? And maybe Lethabo, you want to kind of start us off with that.
I think for me, like my work is sort of a visual diary. It's a way I use to sort of communicate how I feel about different kinds of life experiences. So for me, I'd say that it's a reflection of my thoughts, like just a raw, true reflection of just different kinds of thoughts and feelings. Just, yeah.
Oh, could we just jump in, or?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Yeah. So I was gonna say, I relate to what Lethabo was saying, regarding her art, because mine is the same. It's like a diary as well, and I use it like kind of like a catalyst for growth. I think I've noted that in another interview a while ago. Yeah, it's just like reflections of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same as it's almost like a recording of what I've been going through the past few months, you know, because I've kind of started just working on myself like maybe in the last kind of 3 years. And it all kind of started for me when I started kind of making works about myself, you know, because I've always been a designer. I've been a designer for like 20 years. So it's always about other people's message, you know, so I never really had the chance or never really had the motivation to kind of tell my own story until I started working on myself. So it's really kind of a, you know, like a diary, like a journal of like memories and dreams and, you know, like your feelings in the day. You're trying to almost process it and kind of trying to come up with something, you know, productive with it by sharing it to people and, you know, kind of showing them a different perspective on how you see things and how you see your memories again and stuff like that.
Yeah, mine's the same way, another visual diary. Because like my work is, you know, a lot more colorful than, you know, yeah, it's just a very vibrant diary, basically. Like Yo said, like it's a catalyst, basically, for how you feel throughout the day, your emotions, your feelings, and all that amazing stuff going on in the human brain. So, yeah.
I think for me, it's all the little details I notice in life that people forget about, like the stars. You know, you don't think about them, but they're there every night. Actually, I went to Joburg once and I couldn't see the stars, and it made me so upset. So it's like all the little beautiful things that you notice.
You almost don't miss them until they're gone as well.
Like, exactly. I felt so wrong. Something was like in my chest. It was weird.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned kind of visual diaries and this like almost instinct to like record personal experiences. Is that like the first instinct that you guys have now when something happens, like it's almost like such second nature to kind of translate it into like an artwork?
Yeah, I mean, not with everything, but I think with things that sort of, okay, I think I can only speak for myself, but sort of things that move me in a way, or I learn something from them, or I'm able to look at it sometimes from sort of like a self-reflective perspective. Yeah, but generally, most things that sort of move me, that's what my inspiration comes from.
Mine are kind of similar in the same sense, and like most of my pieces are they draw from kind of the past and like post me growing and understanding those situations, and then like reflecting on those through my art.
I think my work is also a mix of how I feel, but also it discusses social in social focuses or aspects like, you know, prejudice or basically society in a general. Is what I think my work is also expressing, because it does talk about community in a sense where it focuses on Black narratives, not just mine, but I feel like other people, especially, you know, Black people or maybe even other people of color can relate as well. So that's why I think mine is like teetering towards, and not in a way where it's focusing on the negative aspects of our communities, but in a way where it brings in hope and optimism.
Yeah. Well, mine's kind of like, it's a way for me to deal with, you know, some of the kind of the trauma that I've kind of gone through as a, you know, as a person. It's almost like a confessional to me, to be honest. Like sometimes I just try to kind of prevent myself to kind of speaking too much, by, you know, it's like you don't want to put too much information in it as well. You want the people to have some kind of their own interpretation with it. So yeah, so it's, for me, it's really more of a, yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, it's sort of making reminders to myself and to other people that the world is really beautiful. And you hear so much negative news and you kind of feel really hopeless. But there's still so many good things, especially nature, animals, and other people. And it's good to remember that there's still a lot of good.
Yeah. And I think that's something that is very obvious, like in your work and in other artists' work as well, that like there is this like curiosity as well of like creating new narratives, or like, you know, figuring out like how your personal experience kind of relates to like a bigger, like more universal experience. And it's just like, yeah, people can kind of like, you don't realize that someone else has kind of felt the same way as you until you see something and you're like, oh, that makes perfect sense. Like, I'm not the only one to kind of feel that way. So, yeah. Is there like, what kind of, sorry, the question is, why do you guys feel that it is important for you guys to share your own perspectives? And, you know, kind of maybe even like why choose more of a visual format as opposed to like a writing or musical format? Like what drew you to that?
Wow, that's a very interesting question. But I think for me, I can't really say what drew me to visual art. I think I've always loved just drawing visually or creating visually. I think for as long as I can remember. And I think when it comes to why I sort of share my work, I think it's more a thing of, it's my way of connecting to the world. It's my way of sort of communicating to the world, because I feel like I communicate better visually than I do verbally. But basically, it's just me contributing something to the world, and you're just saying something with my work. Yeah.
I think also visuals, compared to writing and music, it's an instant resonance. You know, you don't need to read a chapter or listen for a few minutes. It's there instantly. And with the internet, everything is so fast and people lose attention so quickly. I think having an instant impact is quite important, and making something beautiful that can make people's days like a little better in that one moment is really nice. That's for me the most important part. It's like making something that can make people happy or remind them of the good.
I think
Go ahead.
sorry, you can go. Oh, okay. I think personally, I never marked it as like important to like share my perspective to people, I guess. Because most of my art is created just for me, but I know that a lot of my pieces resonate with, you know, plenty of people, and like they find something of themselves within it. So I think that's important. But like, I don't know, I don't know about the whole like me feeling like I have to like share myself with others. But I think that comes from a place of like trying to understand vulnerability and like being publicly vulnerable. So I don't know.
Because I'm sure it is kind of an act of vulnerability to like post your express like thoughts and feelings, and even if
No,
it's not
yeah.
like a declaration of like, you know, you want to change with the world, it does feel like a kind of a very like personal act.
And it's hard to like show art with like there's air quotations you can't see, but like with like real meaning, because then like people think like you're like depressed or something. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think for me, like everyone else said, it's just easier to express how you're feeling, or a way to communicate that certain moment in time that you're going through or that you relate to. Because I tried writing before, like when I was younger, like 16, 15, 14 years old, I like wrote a few short stories or a few poems or whatever, but it was mainly art that I could hold on to as a clutch to really express how I was feeling or what I see going on in my head, basically. Like all the color schemes and all the layouts that I use in my artwork is basically how I'm feeling inside and how I see the world. So in a way, is maybe I can relate it to like rose-colored glasses, but not in a sense where it's blinding me from the truth, but more expressing how I feel and where what maybe other people can relate to as well. Because some people have said they want to like live in the world that I'm creating in my artwork, which I can relate to because I wish I could. It looks really awesome to be in. So that may sound kind of weird, but yeah, it's easier to express because it's visual. It's a visual thing. I'm more of a visual learner too. So to incorporate how I see eternally to an outside perspective, it's just an easier and simpler way to do so.
Yeah, I'm kind of similar with him as well. Like I started when I was very young. It was just an obsession with visual stuff, you know, like photographs, comic books, graphic design. It's been carrying on since I was a little, you know, since I was a kid, and it's always been a big part of my life. Like if I don't, you know, kind of do anything visually, I kind of, you know, have withdrawal symptoms or something. Like I really kind of miss doing something like that. And as far as like why it's important for me to kind of, you know, share my work, like I think it's the same. Like it's my contribution to, you know, to the community. It's my kind of perspective that like I'm opening up, you know, and to see people's reaction to it is very validating as well. It's very fulfilling compared to when I was, you know, working as a designer. There's not much fulfillment there. There's not much, you know, kind of people don't really appreciate the effort you put in compared to when you're doing something as a, you know, as an artist. So yeah, so that's, you know, that's my reasons for doing it.
Yeah. Do you kind of feel like the background that you have in design like carries through at all here? Or was this very much more of like a break? Like
no, definitely. I think everything that I've kind of learned in the past 20 years have kind of, you know, kind of formed together in what I'm doing now. Because I started off as a layout artist, and then I was a graphic designer, and then I was a cinematographer, and like I've done editing, I've done motion graphics. So it's really kind of combining all those kind of things into this, you know, kind of one medium that I'm kind of doing right now. And I'm still kind of in the middle of figuring out what to do. You know, like I'm still pretty early at this game. I think I started doing it as an artist last year, around October, or not really October, but the start of last year, where I started kind of pushing my own stories more than other people's, you know, stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that's an interesting point as well. I think like a lot of people really got into, especially like NFT art, which is like one of the newer like kind of platforms for digital art. Like you kind of start off and like very recently within the past few months, maybe the past few years or something, and kind of like move from there. And I was wondering like if this, like if you guys have seen maybe like a huge transition in the kind of messaging or the style, the platform from like when you first started, and maybe even like how long ago you guys started as well. No, Lethabo, I kind of asked you at like at the beginning, but maybe other people can also weigh in as well.
I started officially in beginning of 2018, but only actively in July last year. And I've tried to focus more on my more popular style that, you know, now. I used to do a lot of different styles, but this one just makes me the happiest. I really like it. And I love the bright colors, and that it's kind of like an etching type. And I've always liked that, so that I can finally do it and that people resonate with it is really nice. So that's what I've been doing.
I started in, what was it? In like late August, early September, so I don't really know any better regarding like how I guess things were before NFTs and like versus afterwards. But um, yeah, I mean, I used to do art, well, not really do art, but I used to like create pieces for like my high school class, and then I stopped for like a couple years, and then I brought it back up in late August. So I've just been doing that with this specific style the whole time and just like developing it as I go.
Yeah, same. I started around the same time because me and Yasnir were talking to each other when we first entered the NFT space. So it's interesting to go through the whole thing with each other, trying to figure out, oh, how we do this and how do we incorporate that. But it was interesting because I was kind of used to just going to galleries and showing my work or my classes at my school basically, and not really how, or just posting my artwork online and being done with it, and not just being in a community like that. But it's grown a lot, especially in the last month or two, which is nice to see. So, but yeah, it was interesting to see there's a whole other space for artists to show off their work like that, and I get to be a part of it too.
Yeah, so I kind of mentioned they started like last year, October, and it was because some like some guy kept messaging me about joining, look, like those marketplaces online. And when I first got in, I didn't like, it was too good to be true, to be honest. Like, I thought there was something wrong. Like I was waiting for something, bad to happen. I felt like I was being tricked or something. It was just, this is like what you want to be doing. Like you woke up every day trying to think of something new to do, and you share it there and get sold for and it's just kind of and I think the future is going to be really, really big for this kind of platform. Like we've only started scratching the surface of what we can do with this platform. Sorry. Yeah, so it's very exciting, and I'm just happy to be part of it, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting to me that like a lot of you guys have started within the past year. I wonder if there's anything like with the pandemic, just having like more time and more like perspective on like what's actually important, and like, yeah, I've been wasting time like doing this other job that I really hate and that doesn't actually make me happy. And this is the thing that actually like makes me happy and makes me want to get out of bed in every day. So.
Yeah, I think the pandemic definitely has some kind of influence on the growth of art lately, because of course we're all at home, we're all not exactly going out and being busy doing our normal routine. And so like my digital art, journey really started this past year. So I've always been into it, but the growth of it really became exponential last May or April. And so it has grown from there. And I guess the pandemic really has given people a chance to really get more in depth with their creativity.
Also, I mean, if you can't actually go to galleries to look at physical art, online and digital art is really the way to go. You can do it from home and buy it from home and put it as your wallpaper, and it's, I think, a new way of life.
Just a different way of experiencing art. There's just so many, like digital art is very like, like versatile. Like we were saying, like kind of looking through the exhibition, you can do GIFs, you can do like videos, things like just really however you want to express yourself, you really can. Seems like. But yeah, I have one final question for you guys before we say goodbye and thank you. But I would love to know, so kind of the theme of the exhibition, or like a secondary theme to it, is like shocking the system, just taking a moment of pause and like shocking yourself so that you kind of have those moments of consideration, taking a step back, thinking about it, but then also like introducing kind of a new format, a new, appreciation into an art system that kind of barrels along at a breakneck pace, maybe not appreciating digital art as much as it should, or even appreciating like each, unique individual perspective. I would love to know like what it means to you guys to quote unquote like shock the system, and maybe how you are going, you know, about that. I know shocking the system sounds very like aggressive, and that's not necessarily the vibe. Like like we're not necessarily talking about like a great change up or a shake up, but like even in a small way, kind of how do you go about doing that?
I think also people get into their routines, you know, they check the news, they have the thing that they do every day. And it's sort of I mean, I do my art for myself. I don't do it necessarily for other people. But a bonus of it is if it reminds people that there's nature and like just go outside. Don't look at, I mean, this is ironic because my art is on the screen, but don't look at the screen all day. Go outside, spend some time at the beach, do something nice, because there's all these beautiful things that you should appreciate.
For me, to be honest, like with my work, I'm really happy that people find it, you know, shocking or original. But like when I create my stuff, like everything makes sense to me, at least from my perspective, because I do kind of create art for myself. And I think I started that kind of style when I stopped kind of apologizing for what I like. You know, like if I like to do this, then I'm just gonna do it. I'm not gonna, you know, try and follow any, you know, like any trends. Like before, when I used to work, I used to open up a lot of other people's work and I try to copy them, you know. But now I don't open anything. I'm just trying to kind of gravitate towards what is pleasing towards me. So in a way, I'm kind of learning what, you know, kind of is my style as well. Like it's kind of a self journey as well, I think. And yeah, I don't know. Like I'm still kind of learning what makes it unique, to be honest. Like I'm just trying to study my like what I tend to communicate with other people. And yeah.
Okay. Oh, did you want to go?
Oh no, you can go.
Okay. I was gonna say, well, normally I would never have like thought of mine as like, I guess shocking the system, but I guess in retrospect, like with Black Sneakers or Lethabo, art is like it showcases Black people in like a beautiful light versus how they're normally portrayed in, you know, most forms of media. Like trauma and stuff like that. And like with mine, for example, like I always make sure to, at least with like other references, not just me, try to paint, like what I said, Black people in like beautiful light. And like I like how my work, for example, is like stained glass, for example. I don't know, there's something like really warming about it. So
Yeah, I think for me the system shock, I think, is just generally just being yourself in what you do, and just sort of really expressing yourself how you wish to be, how you wish to express yourself, and sometimes having some people to sort of relate to it. Yeah.
Yeah, for shocking the system with my work, like Yasmir said, it's basically just putting Black people in a better light than they have been in mass media recently or in the past as well. Because like my work does focus more on the mental and emotional aspects of them instead of the physical aspects like trauma and then what has been going on recently. But because that part of it is also important too, because there's a thing in the Black community where our mental health is not exactly discussed. It may be more progressive now, but in the past, not as much. And I want to focus on that much more in my work. And I think I have. If I have, that's great. If not, then as well, and that's fine. But it's just a very important aspect to look at, to discuss, is just how we are mentally, emotionally impacted, whether in a positive or negative way. But I want my work to represent that in a way where it's okay to talk about that. It's okay to discuss or to really get in depth with how you're feeling emotionally and internally overall. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I think, you know, each one of you guys kind of said it in a very different way, but like in a very valid and important way of there are many ways to kind of think that you are changing a system, you know, being part of something, but also something different and you know, like making it better for not only yourself, but for people who share your own perspectives and are interested in kind of making this world a little bit of a kinder place. So yeah, I mean, from there, we're really grateful that you guys all agreed to be part of this show and we're interested in kind of collaborating with us and with everyone else. You know, it's a really wonderful community and we definitely wanted to give something back to it. So thank you so much for that. And I think that, yeah, unless there's anything else you guys would like to say or have something else, I think we like have said some really wonderful and thought-provoking things. So happy to kind of leave us with these moments and go away to kind of think about it some more. So, but yeah, so thank you so much. We really, really appreciate it. And
thank you for having us.
You want to say something? Go for it.
Oh, I was just going to say thank you for having us.
Oh yeah, of course. Like, it's literally, it's my pleasure. It's Mokta's pleasure. It's SuperRare's pleasure. Like, we're so grateful that you guys are happy to be part of the show. So thank you for that.
I do. Okay, sorry. I do think though that it's great that you guys want to highlight artists in this light instead of just, you know, here's their NFT and here's this NFT, but also focusing on the in-depth matters or perspective on how the artist created their work. It's really nice to see that in the community.
And that was a really important part of this as well. Like, as artists, you guys aren't just producing stuff, you're like having your own experiences and that's it as well. So it's good to kind of showcase. But yeah, so that's it for us. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Please do check out the exhibition, check out each of the artists, both individually and part of the exhibition. And we'll see you here next time for the next exhibition, whatever it will be. So thank you all for joining us, and good night.
All right.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.